There are two people, I follow, or I'm friends with a lot of people on Facebook, but over the years, I've just like unfollowed them. Like I don't need to see all of it. There are two people that I make sure to like highlight in my feed. One, an old radio colleague, Bob Hoffmaster from Fond du Lac. I'm just always very interested in what he's up to and what he has to say. He may not know that, but I'm very interested in his life. And then Kevin Holden of CBS 58, who's always somewhere doing something. That somewhere is all over the world. That something is watching a baseball game. And I was following you, and I think a lot of people saw that you went down to Omaha for the College World Series, something you've never done at that point.
Do you believe it? And it's not for a lack of trying. This is not a lot. We've tried for years and years to get to Omaha, and something stood in the way every time. In fact, I think my favorite one was 2019. We booked. I had game tickets. We had a flight. We had a hotel. Everything was lined up, and I said, okay, I'm just going to go down here and play this softball game, and then we'll be good to go this weekend. And ruptured Achilles and trip. So it's something has been in the way, but we finally said, it does not matter what happens. We are checking this box off this year.
Because it's not just like, for more context, it's not just like, oh, going to this place is something I'd always like to do. Like I might think, oh, going to this soccer stadium or going to Fenway is something something like that. Am I correct? You've seen a baseball game in every state now?
Every state. Yeah, we got 50. We got to Hawaii earlier this year to get to 50 states, which is crazy because, you don't think that they play baseball in Alaska, but they do. There actually is. There's a game at midnight in Alaska. But yeah, we finally did all 50, and then we said, okay, what's next? What's on the bucket list? And instantly, my wife and I were both like, okay, well, we have to get to the College World Series. This is that's gone on. That streak's gone on far too long. So it's checked now. That box is checked.
So you went. It was LSU, Florida. LSU won. You went to all three games.
All three, and man, talk about a crazy.
You're a Georgia guy, so like, who are you rooting for?
Well, okay, yeah. So we probably should get that part of it settled in first, because I went to Georgia. My wife went to Ole Miss. So yeah, so we've got like a whole bunch of SEC dynamic going on here, right? So here's the logic. Georgia fan, it is against my religion to root for Florida in anything. I just can't. So I'm an LSU fan by default, and my wife's brother went to LSU, so she's like, fine, I'll root for LSU, I guess. And it was, dude, it was nuts. The LSU fans, I mean, you see the games and you saw what happened. It sounded like that game was played in Baton Rouge. Like it had to have been 15-1 LSU fans to Florida fans. They were everywhere. There's a place across the street that sells Jell-O shots, Rocco's. They bought 68,000 Jell-O shots during this tournament.
Do you think, I saw somebody tweet this, do you think Wisconsin, if Wisconsin had a baseball team, I don't think we'd play that. I think we'd be like, Jell-O shots are just, they're not even that good.
No, in fact,
this bar, what a genius move from this bar, because they make a competition for a product that nobody wants.
Well, and then, yeah, right. It's basically like you try it and you're like, oh, wow, yeah, I remember being 19. Great. And the thing is, it's loaded. This bar was the entire time loaded with people who are like, whoa, finger in the Jell-O shot. And it's completely nuts. And basically they've played it perfectly. It's the perfect retail ploy. Ole Miss had the record last year. And so this bar was like, hey, LSU fans, let's break that record. We know you guys like to drink more than Ole Miss does. And I think Wisconsin, that would be interesting to see if Wisconsin would fall for that, right? Hey, Wisconsin, we know you like to drink as much as LSU does. And I think Wisconsin will be like, yeah, but not Jell-O shots. Can we have some other actual shot contest? Because Wisconsin could win that,
when I think of Omaha, like it's a big city. Big enough. I think like it's where Creighton plays, right? This is where Creighton plays.
Yeah.
And I just my head goes to picture like they're taking over the Field of Dreams, but it's like a real life city. But I think this is cool because it's somewhere that it always is. I don't know why it's there, but it's always there. It's like their thing. And there's something special to things like that. I think maybe we don't have enough of that. Maybe there could be more. I don't know.
Yeah, it's Omaha was. That's one of the things I wondered too is that why is it that a sport, especially a college sport that's played in
Grodzki?
I think I hate most about Bart. It's the deadpan voice that just bugs me.
What the fuck, Scott? Scott, let me ask you a question, Scott Grodzki. Do you have like 7 or 8 of those CBS 58 polos, or just one that you wash every night?
Yes.
That's the only thing I see you wear.
By the way, do you know how many I have now?
What?
0. I lost mine. It fell out of my bag. I did when they used to make us do that Summerfest hole-in-one. You remember that?
Oh, I remember that.
They had me go out there like every day. I'm like, all right, give me like 4 of them, or I'm just gonna start being shirtless on camera. So I had a bunch of them. They're beautiful.
Well, good to see you again, bud.
Good to see you too. Want to see your beautiful face. Bother you?
Here I am.
I'm sorry for bothering.
No,
you. Mostly just about him.
I was scared to death when that door opened. It was going to be like.
Oh, I talked to Grodzki.
Locking the door for you.
Thank you. Hey, besides,
yeah, he's locking the door. I talked to him I talked to him because he took the picture of Adrian Griffin looking like an idiot.
Oh, with the Bobby Portis eyes?
Yeah. And I interviewed Scott for like 25 minutes and I cut half of it out because it was just so offensive.
Scott offensive? It's not possible.
Well, and I was like I was on my A game, but I didn't want to ruin he was doing some story and I was like ripping on the people he did a story on and it wasn't good. So I cut it out. So.
I forgot about that. No, dude, Omaha was like, that was my question, right? Why Omaha? Like, why is it that a sport that's predominantly successful in Texas and California and Florida and Louisiana have their tournament in Nebraska and it's a wild success? And I think I figured it out. It's Chamber of Commerce time in Nebraska. It was 85 degrees. It was sunny. There was a wind blowing. It was, the city was wide open. It was welcoming. There was good food. There were good hotels. It wasn't overcrowded. Like it was, I'm sure that what happened was 50 years ago or whatever, somebody in Omaha was like, the best time of year for this city is the middle of June. And this tournament is going on. Let's combine the two. And this stadium is basically built for Creighton and the College World Series. And that's it. Those are the only tenants that play there. And the thing holds like 24,000 people. Like it's bigger than a minor league stadium. It's awesome. It really is. Like I was not disappointed at all that, obviously the fans are very drunk and very fun. And the baseball was great. We saw, I think, the 4 best players in college baseball in that series.
Yeah, I thought it was great. And I think that the College World Series, like, I don't know if it's because like people bet or we're just looking for new things to like, but I feel like the women's tournament has all of a sudden gotten more into the mainstream. And I think this college tournament got more into the mainstream. I think there were a lot of good characters in it. And so you learn about it that way. I think it was great that it went to a game 3 so that there was a whole nother night. And then they had the championship in prime time on Sunday or Monday night. I feel like there's more. I'd have to check the ratings, but I know that cable wise, it was like the highest or top 5 show every night was whatever was going on in this college tournament. I feel like they're having a moment, maybe.
Yeah, they figured out the perfect way to showcase it, right? It looks good because the stadium looks good and everything else is good. The quality of the product is strong. I mean, I think the thing is about college ball, and you probably agree with me on this, is we would kind of chuckle about it because it's like, oh, okay, college kids playing baseball is fun, but every swing is ping, and you were just like, like it would hurt you on the inside. So the best thing they did for the game was make it where there was less ping. Like there's still an aluminum bat, but it doesn't rattle your soul when they hit it. That helped, I think. But these guys are, I mean, obviously the passion of rooting for your university is there, but just the quality of the product is really good. Like there are names that came out of this tournament. Dylan Cruz is the first name I think people should know. You're going to hear from Dylan Cruz in Major League Baseball soon, like within a year or two. And that's, in baseball, that's pretty soon, right? It's not the same as football where you hop right in. But, there were 3 or 4 guys in between those two teams that I think will be probably the top picks in the draft. It's a fun atmosphere. There was, like I said, it's 85 degrees. It's summer day in Nebraska. It was, you think of Nebraska, you think it's 12 degrees and wind blowing sideways. It was actually nice. It was great.
What are you like on these trips? Like I picture you as someone who's like talkative and wants to meet people and wants to, like, I would go on there and just be like, I was just here to watch a game, maybe have a couple Jello shots. I feel you're like, I don't know, not that.
I'm actually exactly like you're describing yourself, if you can believe it.
Really?
My wife is the one that likes she'll strike up the conversation with the people next to her. Okay, game 1, we're sitting in the upper deck and we have LSU fans to our left.
And if your wife is like I think the people that go on vacation and then come home with new friends are the worst type of people.
Yes. You would not like my wife in this trip. She gave advice at a bar to these 2 young women from Omaha, locals in a bar. And it's like 1:00 in the morning. And these women are like, I should value myself more, and they're doing the Dr. Phil thing right there in the middle of the bar. And I mean, it was amazing. My wife is amazing at it, but yeah, they said, this is what those same 2 women said. They said, we thought you worked in IT or on computers because you're very reserved.
Oh, you?
Me? Reserved? Can you imagine?
Oh, so we maybe have the same affliction.
Especially in a case like this, like I don't really have a rooting interest. I like the game. I'm paying attention to the game and the strategy and stuff. I'm soaking up the sights, but I don't like
talking to the person like at the desk, the hostess at a restaurant. I don't like, but then I'm like, hey everybody, I'm Bart Winkler and this is my show. It doesn't make any sense.
It's a switch that goes on and off, right? And I mean, for the like, if we're in town in Wisconsin and you meet me, I will probably be very talkative. I'll probably, be open and whatever. But in this town,
the switch is kind of on, though.
Huh?
The switch is a little on.
It's a little on. It's a little on.
I mean, somebody was asking me this the other day about the radio. They're like, how do you go on and talk for 4 hours about anything? I go, it's not me. It's like Severance. It's like it's somebody else.
You're
I'm like, all right, and then there it is.
We make the joke all the time about TV's Kevin Holden versus Kevin Holden. They're not vastly different people, but they're different people, and so and I know this happens to you too. Like if you're out and you're eating dinner and somebody comes up and wants to chat with you because they know who you are. I got no problem with it. I'm sure you don't have a problem with it, but at the same time, it's like there's a part of you that reaches down and goes, okay, in 3, 2, 1, hey, there's a little bit of that, right? There's a little bit of it. I love it. The fact that people like recognize who you are and what you do and all that stuff is like that. To me, it's a great compliment. It means you're doing a good job, or somebody is. They're doing a good job getting us to watch. But yeah, like if I'm out of town, none of these people know who I am. When we told those 2 girls at the bar that I was TV's Kevin Holden, they're like, oh my God, like they're freaking out, right? Like they're like, it's not possible. But yeah, my wife, ex-TV person, keeps her extrovert status. And that first game, we're up in the upper deck, LSU fans on either side, and behind us are these like loud, obnoxious Florida fans. And we find out, she starts chatting with them, and we find out one of them went to Florida. All the other ones are Iowa fans that came and supported their bud by talking smack about Florida. And they didn't understand the game. You know what I mean? They kept like pitches that were here. They'd be like, oh, come on, Blue, that's a strike. And my wife would turn around and be like, no, it's not.
Oh, geez.
She got on them at one point because they were screaming about a fly ball. She's like, that's an out. It's an out off the bat.
I just realized that the graphic I put up here was meant for you in case you joined before I got back. I
Well,
went to go get my charger. So the whole time on because I'm posting this, it says
Yeah.
get my charger, be right back the whole time.
No, I love it. It's I thought you could do you could have fun with this. You could pull out Austin Eckler or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. I don't have any down here. I got some guys down here.
Give me some Herbert.
I got a Jim McMahon down here. I got a Kevin McHale.
The leaping leaner.
Yeah, I got a lot of that stuff. All right. So you had fun.
It was, dude. So honestly, it's a good city. Like I wouldn't call it the most hopping city in the world. It's not New Orleans, on Monday, especially. And that's the one thing I think they got to figure out is they play this final Saturday, Sunday, Monday. If somebody sweeps it, then it's Saturday, Sunday, you're in good shape. But if it goes to Monday, all the Omaha people go back to work,
Yeah.
all the people with jobs go back home. So this is crazy. Our tickets to the last game, the deciding championship game, were the best seats we had by far, and they were 40% of the cost of the other seats.
Dang.
So it's if you know how to do it, you can sneak in. Like you could have gotten into that game, that third game, the championship game. If you caught it right and you were fine sitting in the outfield, I think it were like $35.
Yeah, the thrill to me isn't going to games anymore. It's how cheap I can get in.
Yeah, like
That's the thrill.
You're playing the thing, right? Like, oh, Stuff Up's got this or whatever. And I got hosed on the first one just because the excitement. And when LSU got in, I knew I was going to get hosed because they bring 5 million people and they're drunk and they spend money and it's fine. But I knew I was getting hosed on the first one. The second one I got better. I mean, I'll tell you what I paid, right? It was a little under $200 per ticket for the first game to sit up or tank, which was pretty heavy. And then in the second one, we got below it under shade, like two sections down, and there's an overhang. So we got shade because that was a day game, and that was like 125. And then last night was $70.
Jeez.
And we sat 15 rows off the field, first base side. Great seats.
And you always did you have to take a day off or you just had the day off?
So
because you are always somewhere, and I'm like, and then you'll post a picture, you're like, in the Little Rock, Arkansas airport, and it's like 10 in the morning, and then I turn on the TV and it's like, there you are on the 5 o'clock, whatever.
We drove last night, or the night that it ended, Monday night, we drove back. We left Omaha at 10 p.m. and got to Milwaukee at 4:45 in the morning.
Okay.
But no, here's the secret for me, at least. I do those Telemundo baseball games on Sundays when the Brewers. So I got to make those days up. That's it's a Sunday, so you make that day up somewhere. So I take a lot of Mondays off during the summer, and usually I use those to play softball with this softball team that I've latched onto somehow. I didn't play softball with them Monday because the natty was a little more important, and that softball team scored 0 runs.
Ooh.
Congratulations, Bart. You scored as many runs as that softball team did Monday night in 9 innings. It was a 1-0 9-inning game, but whatever.
Softball? Jeez.
It's possible. Someone broke a bat.
How many internal meetings have you had at CBS 58 to prepare for the blowback when Pat Sajak steps down from Wheel of Fortune?
You should see the thread today. The email thread.
Because they run Jeopardy at 6 and Wheel of Fortune at 6:30. And for many of a certain age, this is their day. I mean, kudos to them for making this far on the ride and for having so else little to need to care about. But 6 o'clock Jeopardy, 6:30 Wheel of Fortune. And it can't be WMLW. It's got to be the same place it's always been. It's got to be CBS 58. It's got to be at the same time. They bring in the National Guard when golf runs late or something.
presidential address. Like if anything goes on, if there's breaking news, there's the war is going on in Ukraine, and CBS News decides to do a special report right at 6. Literally, I will sit at my desk. I'll look up. It'll be 6, and I'll see national on the network news on, and I'll put my head down and go, okay, here we go. And the phone starts ringing. And the crazy thing about it is, dude, please go with me on this part. Never in my life, ever in my life, have I had the phone number to an assignment desk at a television station to complain about anything ever. Ever.
Yeah.
Like, what subsection of the population is like, here's the number, call that assignment desk. And by the way, if for anyone watching, if you ever do that, the person that answers the phone has no control over anything that happens on TV. That person's job is to find out if there's a story going on, and they assign someone to the story, or they figure out if it's a story worth covering or whatever. So these people are dealing with police scanners, and they're dealing with, court cases. And
You're calling Tim Shea is what you're doing.
Tim Shea is literally in that. Literally, Tim Shea. He does it overnight, so he doesn't deal with the crazy. Although we did call him on the trip back, and he sounded like he was dead.
I didn't like that. That was an eye opener, because then that's how I met Rick and Oshkosh too, the longtime caller, RIP. Is I would be in on Saturday mornings, and he would call just because somewhere along the line, people get a phone number of like if they have a question about sports, they look up a phone number about sports, and the radio station calls up, and so Rick would always call and be like, "Who's this guy talking right now? Who's this guy? Why is he on my TV?" I'm like, what? I mean, do you want to talk to Mike McGivern, and we're doing a coach's show here? And he's like, no, TV, ESPN. Who's this guy? All right. So I turn around. I go, oh, that's, some anchor. He's Marty Smith. He's doing college football. I don't like him. I like the other girl they had. Can you tell them?
Can you tell them? Like you've got a hotline, like, hey, ESPN, have her on more, will you?
You know what the other thing old people do is? They always say someone's name like you have 100% idea who they are. my grandma will be go, okay, are you coming over because Betty just left, or Betty's coming over at 5? Grandma, who the fuck is Betty? Oh, Betty, she's Charles' wife. Grandma, Charles. Oh, my friend from church.
My friend from church.
Yeah, Michelle introduced me. Grandma.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's fantastic, dude.
Yeah.
We have a phrase in the South, your mom and them.
Yeah.
Tell your mom and them I asked how she's doing. So I don't know if this is 100% appropriate, but this is super funny, so I'm just gonna say it. My dad, lived a wonderful life, and in the last few years of that life, he was as someone in their 80s is, right? Like the mind was mostly there, but some things would slip out the edges, right? And he called me one day, and I picked the phone up, and he said, "Hey, I think you looked real good in that suit." And I said, "Hey, can you put Mom on for a second?" I said, "Mom, what is he watching?" And she's like, "He's watching ESPN. They're doing an NFL broadcast." And so I turned it on. My dad thought I was Robert Smith.
Oh, wow. That's not too far.
And like I said, whatever. Right? It's an innocent moment. I figure it's fine to share. But that. So I wanted to pick up that phone and tell Robert, "Hey, Robert Smith, you look good in that suit."
Yeah. Well, that's actually makes me kind of feel bad.
Well, I mean, his son was on TV. He didn't know which TV channel, but his son was on there somewhere.
Well, hey, that's good that he knew.
Have you ever heard the story about the first time that I was on? Sorry, I've hijacked this. The first time that I was on at home.
Kevin, this is my Friday show, so talk away.
Wide open, right? I'm from Atlanta, and obviously, the dream was there for many years to be home, to be on TV at home, and really the dream is to have your parents turn on the television and see you. And for us, it means nothing, but for them, it's validation. That's all it is. I just wanted them to be like, oh, this is why my kid went to school and worked in crazy little places in America and, ate ramen for years. Like, this is, you know what I mean? It's a validation thing. So this has been a while back. This is when Tim Tebow was still a Gator and they made it to the SEC championship game. I was working in Orlando. They sent me up and they gave me a list of live shots that I was doing. And most of them were for our station in Orlando, but there were 3 other ones at the bottom. 2 were Tampa and 1 was Atlanta. And I asked them, Atlanta? And they're like, yeah, you're going to be on in Atlanta. And so, dude, I don't know if I've ever been that geared up for a live shot in my life. Like, yeah. I was ready to run through a wall, and my wife came up with me for the trip. So she was at home, and I'm like, tell my parents to be in front of the TV. Like, this is it. This is going to happen now, So this thing goes on, and I am like talking about that switch flip to on. I'm like, hey, SEC championship. I mean,
don't you think it's a shame that we lose that though?
Yeah.
Like this week, I'm doing CBS Sports Radio for Bill Ryder, and it's 100 stations across the country, and I'm just like and I think back to like my first time I ever was on the radio at Cow 97 in Sparta. And I was like, the first Friday night that I shot high school highlights for football in lacrosse, I came home and there was like a party at my house. And I'm like, everyone, you have to watch these highlights. It was like DeSoto versus Prairie Sheen or whatever.
You're not even on them. It's just what you shot, right?
It was 1 touchdown run that I go, I shot that.
They're like, hey.
And I feel like, and I watch big leaguers and their first game and their parents are there. And then the 10-year vets. And it's a shame you lose that a little bit.
So I lost this pretty fast because when I was on, I called my wife right after. And I'm jumping out of the Congress Center. You know what I mean? Like, this is a moment in my life. And I'm like, how'd it go? And she's like, your mom got called into work and your dad was in the bathroom. They never saw it.
Oh, man.
So I got jaded fast.
Your dad couldn't wait 5 minutes for his boy?
Seriously. He thinks Robert Smith 1 minute, then he's in a bathroom the next. No.
It all evened out. Hey, good to see you. Good to talk to you.
It's fun, Bart. Yeah, but seriously though, recommend College World Series. I've got, there were good food places. You can drink. They have alcohol in Nebraska. They have baseball in Nebraska. So go to it next June. Have fun with it. Invite me along. I'll go back.
I probably will never go there, but it sounds fun. Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, dude.